Well, good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on the future of the financial services industry and how digital transformation is changing the industry. My name is Charles Green. I'm part of the marketing team here at Globant, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's session. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be discussing some of the fundamental changes which are taking place in the industry and how financial services firms are going to be adapting to the new normal and how they're adapting to this new environment, how they're having to rethink their business models, their processes, their customer relationship models, and really their whole vision of the ecosystem. And to do that, I'm delighted to be welcomed by Lucas Juri, one of our business hackers from the Business Hacking Studio. Lucas, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Charles. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thanks everyone for having the time to join us. I think this is a fantastic conversation to have nowadays. At Globant, we are quite involved in digital transformation pretty much every day with many partners across the globe. So this is an exciting topic to share with you. In terms of the way we are going to use our time, next, Charles, please.
Yep, sure. Yep.
Thank you. That's fine. Just in terms of how we're going to use the time, just some thoughts around what's going on currently in our lives. And this is a very special year that we are facing. What does it means in terms of trends and opportunities around this context that we have around our lives and our businesses? How we look into that or we look into the future and we transform some of those trends in opportunities for our businesses, and how we are building roadmaps in terms of digital transformation so that we can sustain transformation over time. And then we are going to have some time for Q&As and have a question in anything that you might want to discuss further. Next. So briefly about Globant, in case you just a very brief summary. We are a very young company. Globant was born in year 2003. We have now more than 14,000 employees, and we are servicing leading companies across the world. So we are present in more than 18 countries, or in 18 countries, and we are growing over 23% year on year. So, and what it's more important, it's an amazing place to work, and we have extremely clever and intelligent people working every day with some of these amazing projects we work on every day. So that's about Globant. And next. Something that makes us a bit different to traditional professional services companies. We go from strategy to development to execution, and we were born digital, so that's the way we think and operate. We think of ourselves as doers and dreamers. We think big, and we love to get into action and to build solutions and build business models and new things. And we have a very strong entrepreneurial culture and attitude. So we believe we are really, truly partners. We like to put skin in the game. We partner for the long run. We even share risks and benefits with most of our clients in many projects. And we also leverage our multi-industry expertise to create new opportunities and new value creation opportunities for our clients. At the same time, we help many local and regional companies to have a global reach and a global impact. Next. So going into the current times we are living, 2020, it's a year that we are not going to forget in many ways. It has changed our lives and the way also companies operate. And we have discussed this with many clients what has this time has taught us and has brought to our boards and to our decision-making processes. And it certainly has challenged ourselves in many ways. And at the same time, it has shown us that there were limits that we have gone beyond, and we have learned how to do certain things we thought we were not capable of doing. So this is certainly a year that it has bring a lot of new things and challenges to our lives, and we think that also brings opportunities as we look into the future. Next. So when we think about change, one concept that we discuss and that we like to discuss with our teams and with our clients, it's the concept around speed of change and agility. And this is a quote from Jack Welch, the ex-CEO of General Electric, that sometimes resonates a lot to us, which is if the rate of change outside exceed the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. And that fundamentally brings the concept that currently we need to step up in terms of how we are dealing with the change around us. Next. So having said that, something else that comes into play when we talk about change is that change also brings new business models and increases competition. And this is a quote from Reed Hastings from Netflix that it's directly linked to this concept, which is, and it is something that we should keep in mind. He said that Netflix must become a HBO before HBO becomes Netflix. And that was a very powerful way to say that change also brings the notion of sustainability and long-term survival as business models have to evolve and transform. And that's a concept that we also have to keep in mind as we discuss currently and what does digital transformation means into our companies. Next. So when we think about this year and another discussion we usually have, it's if we are talking about something that relates more about digital acceleration, or if it is something more profound and in terms of business transformation. And this example of something that relates to Disney, it's quite clear. Disney Plus, the platform they developed, had a goal to reach over 60 million subscribers by year 2024. They exceeded that goal within the first 4 months from launching the platform. So it certainly shows the level in which these changes have transformed not only the industry and the company, but pretty much the landscape for the business, which we find as a very clear example of the level in which this transformation it's happening. Next. And another example that you probably have heard, and it's also very direct in terms of relating to the meaning of the digital transformation we are going through, is the numbers around e-commerce in the United States. And this was even at the beginning of the process in Q2 this year, where the growth in those first 10 weeks was more than the growth in the previous 5 years. Again, this is another example of the level of transformation we are facing. Next. So now let's move into the financial services industry and what we are seeing as trends and also opportunities within the industry. So there's a couple of numbers that we would like to share with you. First of all, the impact that artificial intelligence it's having already and it's going to have. It says some reports are telling us that we are going to reach and exceed savings of around $447 billion in the next couple of years. At the same time, something very interesting is around personalization. 90% of customers are expecting personalized interactions and offers from their providers. Another interesting number to look at is how customers are expecting to use biometrics. 86% of customers are willing to verify their identity or facilitate payments through this kind of technology. Something very interesting is happening around digital wallets and how they are covering the world in terms of solutions for most of the population. And it's expected that by year 2024, they are going to reach over 4 billion in total. Something very profound at the same time is the change in the profile of our customers and population in general. Currently, more than 50% of the population, it's Generation Z or Y. And what does it mean for our businesses having such a dramatic change in our customer profile in the last couple of years? And that certainly brings some challenges to our businesses and the way we offer and manage our offerings. Another very interesting thing to look at, it's everything around open banking. In this case, some numbers from the UK, which is a very developed market, of course, but it shows the trends that it's going to happen pretty soon in other markets as well. In this case, by looking into the UK, we can find over 200 providers of open banking solutions. When we look into the world, there's over 20 countries that have already regulated open banking, and that brings a new set of competition rules and things in terms of new offerings to our customers. And last but not least, the way that customers across the world are using or are aware of fintech solutions for payments and for making transfers. And that's showing how new players are entering the industry and are consolidating as challengers in terms of not only payments, but many different financial services products and services. Next. So when we look into these examples and these key stats, what we are looking at the same time, it's something more profound in terms of the trends of the industry going forward. We think that the industry is becoming more intelligent and proactive. And the way we are leveraging artificial intelligence is allowing us to move in that direction. It's also becoming more personal and contextual, and it's also in that way becoming more customer-centric and relevant. At the same time, it's becoming more intuitive and natural for our customers, inclusive, as we are getting more people to be part of the financial services industry with one or more products, and digital wallets are certainly helping in that direction. And also the fact that we are having such a change in our customers' demographics, it's also bringing in new expectations. And these new generations are much more purpose-driven, and they also want to see that from the organizations that they deal with, and certainly from their financial services providers. The industry is also becoming more transparent and open, and that's certainly been triggered and leveraged and pushed through the open banking regulations. And at the same time, it's becoming more integrated, more connected, and it's part of our daily lives in many different ways and new ways through technology. That's why we are also saying that it's becoming even invisible in certain circumstances. Next. So when we look into these trends and we get the question around how this is translating into business models and new business growth, we can find examples as many as we want really in pretty much every continent. This is an example from Latin America, a region that we know pretty well at Globant. And this example from Nubank, it's quite clear, right? They have exceeded 30 million customers. They only have 2,800 employees to run that business, and their valuation is over $10 billion. And they only have a couple of years of existence. So that's showing that the change we're facing and the level in which new players are becoming strong players in the industry, it's quite clear. Next. So something that we discuss internally is, and that we share as a view, is that disruption has already happened. It's not something that we are expecting into the future. It's already shaping the way the industry behaves, and the industry looks to opportunities and the way we offer products and services. You know, there's so many examples that it's difficult to highlight one over the other, but we can see partnerships happening between technology companies and banks. We are looking into the growth, the drastic growth of technology companies becoming payment solution providers, and then also offering through partnerships further financial services to their customers. The likes of Mercado Libre or Google getting into the field of financial services and growing quite successfully in those businesses as well. So it's certainly something that it's part of our reality. This disruption has already happened. Next. So this is a more traditional view, but it's good to have it. And we also think that it's another angle to look into disruption and the changes we are discussing with you and sharing with you. And these are the stocks, the stocks of different organizations for the last 12 months. And we updated this yesterday. Essentially, it shows how these trends have been very different for the different kind of business models and players. And as you can see, there's an inflection point around mid-March where we saw the more digital players really growing at a fast pace. And at the same time, when we see the traditional and incumbent players, you know, reducing their stock value year on year. And you know, there's example here like Square and Mercado Libre or PayPal that have more than 100% increase in the last 12 months. And on the other hand, some traditional banks and financial services providers like Wells Fargo, Citi, or HSBC have lost almost half of their value in the same period of time. So again, this is something quite clear in terms of the level in which the digital transformation is hitting the industry. Next. So after looking into that, we have to ask ourselves how we are responding to this reality, how we are facing this level of changes, and how we could accelerate our evolution, our self-disruption in this environment we live and we are facing. Next. So, and based on our experience working in the industry in different geographies, what we have seen are organizations that have different models to react to what's going on. And we have some players that are, let's say, more challenged, and there are others that have a more kind of follower type of response. And at the same time, there are others that are more resilient, that might focus on protecting their core businesses, and they do that well. And last, there are market leaders, which is the kind of response of those that challenge their beliefs, the way they have succeeded in the past, and they're looking into new ways to succeed into the future. So this is a summary of the different kind of responses we have seen in the industry by the different players. And obviously there's a lot of detail around these kind of responses in terms of, you know, how they're dealing with uncertainty, what is their conviction in terms of the sense of urgency about transformation, how much they're looking into themselves or having an egocentric kind of view instead of having a more ecosystem view, and how they are dealing with the opportunities of creating partnerships with third parties, and also the way they're evolving their culture and how they are considering digital as part of their new DNA, and how that's helping them attract digital talent, if that's something they want to do. So and last but not least, the way they are interacting internally between the business and the different areas and technology, and how synergies are being achieved or not, and how innovation is being fostered at an organizational level, or instead of that, it's more focused on specific areas or more limited. So these are different characteristics of different kind of responses we have seen in the industry. And obviously, we want to help organizations, and we are helping organizations to have this kind of market leader mentality and attitude, because that's the way they can transform the risks and these uncertainties into opportunities to find ways to create value for the customers and for their organization. Next. So this leads into this discussion about, okay, how do we create the future we imagine for our companies? And next, please. And for doing that, we always think that we can create the future in the right way if we put people at the center, if we put you know, the customer and employees at the center of any envisioning of the future. And what we start doing is with that customer-centric view, we then understand the needs and the expectations that are coming from those customers and users. We understand these trends, and we were looking into some of those before. And then we look into how technology is or can become an enabler of business opportunity, which means that at the end, what we are trying to connect is it's customer and their needs, technology and business. Next, please. So here's the layer around trends, and we were discussing that before. The industry it's quite clearly becoming more intelligent and proactive. It's creating in a more consistent way very frictionless, memorable experiences, and at the same time, it's becoming more intuitive and natural for our customers, purpose-driven, open and transparent, and integrated. And at the end of the day, relevant in our customers' lives. Next. So then we put and we consider the layer of technology, and we start to match these customer needs with technology as an enabler of business opportunities, and we start creating and identifying new ways to create value for the customer and for the company. Next. This is a great example we bring at Globant, and it's something that we are proud of. And it comes from a different industry, which is the entertainment industry. But it's a great example of connecting customer, technology, and business. And these magic bands we developed for Disney a long time ago, and we have been working with them for over 10 years. It's a fantastic way to show how we transform the customer experience. We achieve great operational and logistics improvements by reducing waiting times and improving the customer experience, and at the same time generating revenue, incremental revenue, as these bands are also used as payment solutions by users in the parks. So this is just an example that we like to show when we are talking about connecting customer, technology, and business, and this is what we do in different ways with our customers, also in the banking and financial services industry. Next. So we looked into how it's our approach to look into the future and looking or starting with a customer-centric view, and then bringing the technology and the business layers to the table. So now we need to think about how do we build roadmaps, and I'm going to share with you our way and our approach to do that, and that we currently do with our customers. Next. So what we talked about is how do we get started in this journey? You know, transformation, it's a long journey. It will never end. And this is our approach and our experience, and there's no theories. So this is something to keep in mind. And we kind of discuss this a lot with our teams and our colleagues. We tend to think that Albert Einstein was like a business hacker. I'm part of business hacking studio at Globant, and we try to think that we bring a new way to look into things. So this quote is quite relevant for this part of the discussion around building a roadmap into the future. So if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. So you certainly, given the reality and the challenges we are facing, you certainly need to think beyond what you have done in the past. And this is quite difficult. And that's why we have to work as teams in terms of challenging our beliefs and challenging status quo to really get to the next level in terms of being able to create new opportunities for the company. Next. So the very first step in building a transformational roadmap is having a digital maturity assessment. This is about having a time to reflect on our own capabilities and how we are also responding and reacting to the challenges we are facing as a company. So we looked into this kind of profile. If we are really developing a market leader kind of response to what we are facing, and at the same time we review these 5 pillars all the time, which are, you know, data, processes and agility, technology, experience for customer experience and user experience, and culture. And these are the 4 pillars that we review during our digital maturity assessment at the very start of the process. Next. As a second step, we look into how do we bring our business hacking approach into discovering new opportunities for value creation. And here's where we have to challenge the way we have done things in the past, and we have to expand the limits of what is possible. And this is something that we do quite frequently and in a very non-traditional way, which is we bring experiences with from different industries, and we have these examples of way we have created value for different challenges, and we work together with our client in terms of imagining a future based on those new possibilities. That's why we think that we are expanding the limits of what is possible, and that's a way for unlocking, you know, new value opportunities and value sources. Next. So then after going through that second phase, we move into mapping the different initiatives that we have discovered, that we have created, and we try to put them into different layers of the digital transformation roadmap. And there might be some initiatives that might be more related to digitalization. Other initiatives might relate to the acceleration of certain things that might be happening in the company. And last, we might have also a set of initiatives that are more profound and that we call the transformational ones. And at all times, we look into how these initiatives are impacting our core business and also are creating new business opportunities. Next. On the following phase, we start building and delivering solutions. So it's about moving into action. It's about building solutions and looking into the implementation phase of the ideas that we previously created. It's about breaking inertia and start delivering solutions to our customers and users, and understanding the impact that these solutions are having in their lives. Next. So here's where we start measuring that impact and improving our solutions based on that information. And we are strong believers on data as a core asset for improving the way we do things and the way we impact positively in our customers' lives. So we certainly put a lot of attention about measuring the solutions we deliver, improving them, and then scaling them up as we start to think about the sustainability long-term of the things we build. And at the same time, by doing that, we are in this implementation phase, we are transforming the way that the company works, and we start impacting directly the culture and the development of a more digital culture within the company. Next. So this is a summary of what we have looked at before, which is, having a very clear starting point with our own assessment and setting an ambition for the future, starting the value creation process, impacting the core business and creating new business opportunities and new business models as well, designing and start developing and building solutions in a way that we can start delivering value to our customers. And then we start the flow or the process in terms of capturing value for the company in order to have sustainability and to drive scalability of the things we have imagined and we have deployed, and having a robust business model behind them. And this is a cycle that continues over time. These are some of our customers and partners, and just an example of how broad the experience that Globant has in different industries. Next. And just to summarize in terms of what we were looking at in terms of a framework and a way and a methodology to work through this kind of digital transformation initiatives and programs, here are some partners within the financial services industry and some projects that we have been working on recently in the past. And you can see that we have these different combination of technology trends, needs, and potentially business attached to each of them, ranging from improving the way we develop products, developing new digital banks, transforming the core banking platform, developing social scorings, and also the evolution of our risk management frameworks. We have also working in many projects around how do we get a bank to collaborate and create a collaboration ecosystem with fintechs. Also, how do we transform the back office processes through artificial intelligence? The evolution of the advisory models for wealth management, that's something that's changing quite a lot in the recent times. The digital onboarding of individuals and companies. Another aspect that we are quite working on, it's conversational interfaces and how those are being leveraged not only for customer service but also for payment solutions, and so forth. There's many examples there. I just wanted to give you a snapshot of that to get an idea of the kind of projects that we are working currently on. Next. So to wrap up and just give you a couple of thoughts before we move into questions. We are facing a time of very high uncertainty and rapid change, as we saw. It's clear that this is not something that we have seen, and hopefully we haven't seen in the last few years. This is quite different, and the level of acceleration, it shows us that we are facing a drastic transformation of our business models. What we thought that was going to take some time to happen, probably a couple of years, it has just happened in a couple of months. And that's a challenge for all of us as leaders of our organizations. So the following question is how we are dealing with all that, how we are responding and hopefully developing a kind of leader approach to this kind of challenge. And this is what we are working with our partners on. How do we develop that attitude to not feel so much uncomfortable about all this uncertainty, but we are taking that as a trigger to create new opportunities for us and our companies into the future. And for building that journey, you have to have a very clear idea of your starting point, and you need to look into the mirror and have an assessment of your own capabilities, these different transformational pillars: culture, data, processes, experience, and technology, to understand where is your digital maturity and where are the things that you need to work the most in the short term. Then you have to really step up and unlock new opportunities and new value creation opportunities by having this mindset that we call business hacking, which is challenging the status quo and trying to expand the limits of the possible and going beyond. By doing that, you can certainly build a roadmap with different kind of initiatives that are going to help you through the transformational journey. And then you really need to step into action. And in a very fast way, you need to build things and to have very fast iterative development cycles that will allow you to create value and to have a continuous delivery and learning that it's going to allow you to improve what you're doing. One of the things that it's probably most important to the whole process, to have people at the center, to have that people centricity approach, which is going to be the leading light in terms of how do we create value and how we are relevant on our customers' lives, in our employee lives as well as companies. And that's something we always have to keep in mind. And last but not least, in order to make these processes and these journeys of transformation sustainable, you really need to have a holistic and a very complete view of the organization with the people at the center, but then looking into all these pillars we mentioned before. That's going to be able to, that's going to allow you to develop the internal capabilities to sustain transformation over time to create that agility that you will need in order to keep evolving into the future. And that's it. That's it. We can go to 46 charts, and that's pretty much where we can open for discussions.
Super. Thank you very much, Lucas. A fascinating presentation. Just a reminder to everyone on the call today, if you do have a question, then please do use the chat box, the Q&A on the Zoom, and we will be delighted to take your questions. So we'll be here for a few more minutes, so please do send them in. Lucas, whilst we're waiting, we did have a couple of questions that came in whilst you were presenting. The first one is more general about how do you see these changes that you spoke about over the past few months and this acceleration of the digital transformation, how do you see that impacting the relationship between the more traditional banks and the more kind of the newer fintech companies?
That's a great question, and we have seen it happen in different ways in different markets, which is an increased collaboration. There's so many collaboration spaces between traditional players and fintech, and that's something that, with this open and ecosystem view, that we think it's the most let's say or the best way to look into the things that are going on in the industry right now. We certainly think that collaboration it's increasing, and that they are finding ways in which they can create value for in a very direct and tangible way to users, and also for the companies, without having a direct competition between them. So that's a space that it's growing, and I foresee that it's going to grow even more.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And we have one more question. That is also about what you mentioned in the presentation about the, you mentioned there the example of Disney and the Magic Band, and it's a wonderful example from another industry. Are there particular steps that you can recommend for banks and financial services providers to learn from other industries, to take that more kind of cross-industry approach?
That's also a very interesting question, because we think that there's a lot of value when you bring cross-industry learnings and experiences, and customers are every day are expecting solutions that are relevant and contextual and intelligent, in ways in which the industry by itself was not responding well until now. But one of the fascinating things about technology is that what used to be done in other industries can be done also in this industry itself, in financial services. And that's why it's so important that we have diversity in our teams, that we encourage this kind of open discovery processes and kind of innovation spikes. That's something that we do quite frequently with our partners and clients. We work with our teams over a couple of days, and we expand the limits of what is possible. And we think that there's a lot of value in creating that diversity in the way we look into these challenges, and the way we bring different solutions from very remote places and industries to this industry that we all love. And there's a lot of value in that. So that's something that should be encouraged with the teams, and that we are obviously very open to help on.
Excellent, thank you. And I see we don't have any further questions at the moment. I don't know if, Lucas, do you have any final comments you would like to leave the audience with?
First of all, thank you for the time. We feel very passionate about what we are doing at Globant. This digital transformation journey that companies and financial industry players are facing, it's quite profound, as we discussed before. and it really touches every single corner of the organization, from technology and core banking platforms to the digital experience we are delivering to our customers, to the evolution of our culture and the way the organization look into products, services, and the way it creates value to the communities and the markets it operates. So we are quite happy on sharing that journey with our clients, and that's why we love discussing these interesting topics with you, right? So we are open to discuss the conversation at any time. So feel free to write to us, and you will get an answer straight away.
Yeah, super. Thank you, Lucas. Actually, just whilst you were summing up there, we did have just a couple of last questions that came in, so I just want to make sure to take them. The first question we come from the audience is, where do you think the next breakthrough is going to come from?
I think in terms of the industry, I think the level in which artificial intelligence is transforming the way we do so many things within our companies, within the financial services industry, it's probably one of the things that it's changing the shape of the companies quite drastically. And then in terms of that's if we look inside our companies. If we look into the market, I think the participation and the kind of products and services and the way they are going to do and build those products and services and deliver those products and services, the big tech companies is probably a quite interesting thing to look at in the next year. So I think that's going to be a breakthrough for the industry, the participation of the big tech in an even more profound way.
Okay, excellent. And just one last question again, which just came in, which is also about the impact for older adults, for older people, and how to involve them when everything's becoming more digital. How to make sure that there's not a digital gap, as it were, as it perhaps becomes more complex for older people.
That's a great question. I used to work in banking for 20 years, so many times in the past we had that discussion before my time in Globant about how do we deliver our products in a good way to very different kind of customers, and any organization, any bank might have a more like senior segment and people over 65 years old, and how do we look into their specific needs and the way they interact with our products and services to be relevant to them. And that's a fantastic thing that technology enables to us, which is new ways to solve these kind of issues. You know, the kind of use and value that biometric solutions brings to these kind of customers, it's amazing. We talked before about that. I also mentioned the role of conversational interfaces, which are growing dramatically in many developed countries and markets, and it's growing also in many conversations in Latin America and this part of the world. We think that that's going to play another role in terms of facilitating the life of these senior segments. So there's amazing things happening by looking into how technology reach these specific needs from specific customers.
Excellent, thank you. It's a fascinating topic. With that, I would like to say a big thank you to you, Lucas, for sharing your expertise and your insights today. It's been fascinating to hear from you. Also, a big thank you to everyone on the call today who took the time out to join us. If you would like to know more about what we're doing here at Globant, or about perhaps share some ideas and share some expertise, we would love to hear from you. So please don't hesitate to get into contact with us. We will be sharing a recording of the call within the next 24 hours, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.